All right. Thank you guys for joining in. I got the chance to talk with my good friend, Ronnie Martin, who is a banker, a well-known banker here in Murfreesboro. And I wanted to talk to him about the PPP loans, the Paycheck Protection Program, which is part of the $2 trillion coronavirus aid relief and economic security act. And so thank you, Ronnie, for making time.
Absolutely, man.
Is your bank doing these loans?
We are. Pinnacle Bank is doing PPP loans.
Okay, great. I'm really interested in how are you guys making money off of it?
Yeah. So when the SBA passed down its guidance to us, and based on the CARES Act, the information that was in the CARES Act, banks are not allowed to charge fees to borrowers during this. But the SBA has set aside a nominal amount to pay based on the loan amount that banks will get. So the SBA is covering that cost, and I assume it was set aside in the funding for the CARES Act so that individual borrowers didn't have to pay it.
I see. That's great. And will all banks be offering these, or just certain banks?
Yeah, that is a really good question, because I can tell you, if you've got a banking relationship with somebody in the marketplace, they could really use a hug from you at this particular moment, because when the SBA sent out guidance related to this act, what they said was, we're going to make it so everyone can do this. Any lending institution or credit union that wants to facilitate these PPP loans can. Well, so Pinnacle Bank was already an SBA lender, so we were already approved to do SBA loans. Well, the challenge has been because not everybody has been approved to do SBA loans. There are a lot of clients out there, a lot of small businesses out there that are saying, well, my bank's not participating in the PPP program. So not beating up on any other banks at all, but it is important for people to know that anybody that wants to participate can participate. And so I would tell you that we, being a local community bank in Murfreesboro, we have gotten a lot of calls from people that are not Pinnacle Bank clients that are going to use us for this PPP loan program. And, you know, I've told people, Gabriel, we're happy to help. There are some banks that are not accepting not current clients into that program. The community banking model really is not compatible with that sort of, philosophy. And so,
well, because you're probably taking on way too many clients at one time would be my guess.
Well, and so that's the challenge, right? So do you tell people no that are in your community that need help, versus do you prioritize your current clients based on the amount of capacity you have just to process these loans? And I'll give you an example. Pinnacle Bank, Friday, Saturday, and Monday took over 4,000 applications for over $1 billion in loans.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, and to give you some perspective, Pinnacle Bank has a loan book of $19 billion.
Okay.
In 3 years, we took 4,000 applications for $1 billion in loans. So that just tells you how big. If you've seen that meme going around on Facebook of that giant tidal wave, yep. Yeah, that's what it was like.
Right. What's the largest a loan can be for?
So during this period of time, you can go up to $10 million.
Okay.
Most of the loans that we have seen have been most of the loans I have seen have been significantly lower than that. Somewhere between 10,000 up to, I think the biggest I've seen is about 300,000.
Okay. And as far as the standards for approval, do credit scores come into play, or?
They do not. So what's interesting about this particular program, because it's an emergency response to what's going on in the economy, what we're really asking businesses to provide, and they're like anything, the larger the loan amount, sort of the higher the burden of proof, if you will, because there are no personal guarantees on these notes. The SBA is 100% guaranteeing the notes. There's no collateral requested. And so these are basically unsecured notes except for SBA's guarantee. And so because of that, the banks feel pretty good about being repaid on that because it's an SBA guaranteed loan. But what we have tried to do is we've kind of created these levels of loans. So Pinnacle has under 75 and under 250 and then under $1 million and then over $1 million, where that burden of proof grows. But for most small businesses, I mean, the design of this program was to help small businesses with payroll, to keep people employed, to keep people working, businesses open. Most of those requests have been under $75,000.
Sure. Because there's a certain percentage you can apply for, is my understanding.
That's right. So what you do is you take, and I'll give you these details, but I will tell you one of the things that has been really challenging about this is, most of the time when Congress passes a law or new financial guidance for banks and financial institutions, you have a year or 18 months to implement what folks are asking you to do. We had 2 weeks to do that. And so you can imagine the chaos behind the scenes that's going on to try to implement this.
Sure.
But in short, it is designed to give you an average of your 12-month payroll and to give you 2.5 times that average 12-month payroll. So, for example, if you had $10,000 a month was your average payroll, then your PPP loan amount would be $25,000. So 10,000, 10,000, and 5,000, 2.5 times that average monthly payroll.
Wow. And these are eligible for businesses, nonprofits. I mean, just about like everybody can get it.
They are, and I'll tell you, that's been one of the things that's been hardest on us as bankers is we're continuing to use an analogy. It's a little bit like the train is literally moving, and we're laying tracks literally as the train's moving. And so most businesses can apply. I would tell you that the best guidance I could give you would be if you are a employer of people, then you absolutely qualify. If you are an independent contractor and you have 1099 labor, you may still qualify, but when you can apply and what you can count as payroll are different for those two things. So you really need to have a relationship with somebody at a bank where you can call and ask questions based on your individual circumstances, because I mean, there are a lot of businesses, very successful businesses, that when you say, hey, are you a W-2 employee or are you a 1099 employee? They say, huh?
Sure, sure.
They say,
Well,
this is how I make.
do you have room in your pipe for people to call you?
Here's what I would tell you. If you're a Pinnacle client, the answer is yes, 100%. If you're not a Pinnacle client, we are certainly going to do our part to help people in our community within our footprint. Can I help somebody in Kansas or in California? That's really not what we're designed to do. But I've taken a lot of calls and I've invested a lot of time in people who are, concerned. They just want some information. They want, like anything else, they just want somebody to pick up the phone so that they can get some information.
Sure.
If somebody has questions, they can call me. I'm happy to respond.
Let's see. Is there a deadline for it?
Off the top of my head, I think it's June.
Okay.
This program has been extended through June. I don't have that in front of me.
Is there a limit to the amount of money that they can hand out?
So per person is that $10 million threshold.
Right.
The limit, there are some individual limits, I think, Gabriel, based on the industry, at least the spirit of the act. That
Sure. I just wasn't sure. Is there like a pot of money, and when that money is empty, the program's over?
Yeah, so that's a question everybody's asking. So that's one of the things that has caused that sort of blitz of applications to come in, is people feel like that the money's going to be gone. And what I will tell you is it's just not physically possible to process enough applications for that money to disappear in days.
Gotcha. Sure.
And so
we're talking about trillions here, right?
Yeah, you are. And look, it's basically, and I'm sure this is the case for all of my, fellow bankers in the marketplace that are doing these loans. It has basically shut us down from the standpoint that all I do is PPP loans and I answer PPP loan questions. And, it's a pretty humbling process too, because, I've been doing this for 25 years and you get a lot of reps doing the same thing over and over. Well, most of us are all level playing field and we all have zero reps doing PPP loans. And so it's a scramble to try to be competent and give good advice.
I mean, I realize that your business model is that you want to provide service, but like when you're standing back and you're looking at it, you get paid the same on these loans as you do some other loan? I'm just being honest here.
Yeah, no, good question. And so I think that is one of those things that you look at and you say, why do community banks exist and what else, because banks are in the business to make money like any other businesses are in the business to make money.
Sure.
But it's instances like this where you get to see sort of what financial institutions do for the community around them, just beyond the day-to-day blocking and tackling that people are accustomed to knowing us for. And when you can borrow money, the interest rate on this loan is 1%.
Wow.
Generally speaking, you're a financial guy, you know this. Banks want a 3 to 4% net interest margin spread. Well, even if your cost of funds is 0, 1% is nowhere near what you need to cover, the overhead. So, there's a little bit of income that comes in to offset some of that from the SBA, but I will tell you, it's not even what we would charge on a traditional loan. So
that's what I was assuming. It's really just a service that you community banks are providing right now.
Well, here's the thing. If you're businesses that you're banking, that you have normal loans, hotels, restaurants, small businesses, if they lose employees and they shut down and they do not have the capital structure to withstand a 30, 60, 90-day interruption of business, it's really an investment in our community and an investment in all of our clients, because we're trying to do our part to hold this thing together, with tape and a coat hanger until it can kind of carry its own momentum. So
sure. And so that's why I'm encouraging everybody to take advantage of these programs. The libertarian in me has these principles and stuff, but I'm not writing these rules. I'm just playing by them. So I think it's important that people, especially our community, take advantage of this and get that outside money to come in so that we can, like you said, hold it all together.
So you're saying you wouldn't vote for it, but you're going to encourage everybody to take it.
If I was in charge, no, I would have been like Thomas Massey, causing a problem. But since it's law, the CARES Act stands. So, of course, I wouldn't have been for Sarbanes-Oxley either back in the day. That's caused all kinds of problems. So, this is just totally new, something very different. And, I was listening to the guy that's in charge of the Minneapolis Fed. He was in charge of the TARP program. And he said the problem with the TARP program was that they couldn't get the money out into the economy quick enough. And they have turned it on with this one, man. I mean, they have really just got the bazooka cannon firing, man.
Well, and I'll tell you, and I'll compliment our officials who push so hard, to make this happen and to get it done. And the challenge is we're all kind of in this boat together rowing, and it's painful and it's hard and it's messy. But can you imagine how hard it was to get agreement on getting something this big, this done this quickly? They deserve, in my mind, some real credit, whether you agree with it or not. It'll keep a lot of people employed, and I'll tell you, Gabe, it'll keep. We're hearing numbers that 3 to 4 out of every 10 restaurants won't reopen. You've heard about Mellow Mushroom and a couple that have already decided not to reopen. And as you could imagine, those that will probably be the most significantly affected are those whose capital position is more limited than maybe the corporate chains, if you would.
Exactly right.
And it's hard if you lose that opportunity to keep your momentum from a capital base. It's hard to rebuild that. It's hard to keep it going.
Yeah. And so community banks are stepping into the gap here to save the day.
Yeah, that's right.
You need a cape, man.
No, I tell you, it's and it's not just us at Pinnacle. When I have gone out and looked at some of the other banks, trying to figure out if we're all doing the same thing when we have questions about the intricate details of what we're doing. And what's interesting to see is, everybody's fighting the same battle, trying to take care of their clients. And I worked a full day on Saturday. I worked a half day on Sunday.
Wow.
Most people in the banking business, I would tell you, worked this weekend trying to get this done. And again, you go back to, that's about serving the businesses in our community. And there's some self-service in this, like there is anything else. If we don't keep these people open, then it causes losses and financial losses in the economy.
No doubt, right? And it'll be a cascading effect, and so it's very important to keep them open, keep them running.
So everybody's put their hands on the lift and trying to keep it from hitting the ground. So
that's right. Well, thank you for making time. I know you got to get back to processing loans. So
all right, man.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. See you, bud.